Back here in our website, we've already got the graphics we're going to be using for the buttons. We've just got to convert them and set up the states. So let's get started on that. Now, I've got my home, portfolio, exhibitions, and contact, and we want those all to be buttons. Let me click on this one, and actually, let me open up the layers. Remember, we had those in a layer folder here so that we can get a close look at what we're working on. Now, notice we have a couple of different frame spans here, one with the tween and one that's static. We've got that for each one of the buttons, and if I scroll down a little bit, we should see our home button down here at the bottom. Since we've already got these set up as movie clips, I'm not really going to mess with the motion tween part. I'm not expecting my users to click on those while they're moving. So I'm only going to take the section where the button is static and actually convert that one into a button. Now, what I'll do is just move my playhead down, let's say about to frame 65 here, as long as it's past the point where all of my buttons have finished their animations. And I'm not sure what layers I have locked, so I'm going to click the lock icon. That'll lock all the layers, and I'll click it once again. That'll unlock all the layers, and that way we've got access to everything we're going to work on. Now, when I click on the home button on the stage, I'm actually selecting the static span here. And that's the one I want to convert into a button. Now, I'll just press F8. I'll change the name to Home Button. And we'll make sure that the type is set to a button symbol. I'll leave the registration in the upper corner. We'll click OK. And now we've got a button. Now, let's modify our Home Button. We'll just double-click it right here on the stage. And you can see it opens up with a button timeline. Now, I'm just going to do something nice and simple for this one because we've got clean text for our buttons. I'm going to make an overstate for this one. I'll click in the over frame and press F6 to create a keyframe for that. And I'm going to click on the home graphic. Now remember, we had a movie clip in here, and we can use some of the movie clip properties to enhance our button. I'll close up color effect here, and down in filters at the bottom, let's add a filter. We'll leave the blur settings alone. That's from the motion tween we had before. And I'm just going to go in here and add a filter using the button at the bottom. And I'm going to add a glow. Now, just so it matches with our document, I'm going to change the color of the glow to a nice bright yellow. We'll up the blur a little bit. And that actually looks kind of nice. Now, we can preview this by just moving our playhead back to up. So that'll be the way my button normally looks. And when you roll over it, it's going to get that yellow glow. Now let's add a down state to that. I'll click in the down, press F6 to create a keyframe. That's going to copy everything, including the glow that I just made. And let's click on that button once again. We can access the glow settings. And right down here at the bottom of the glow, we can add a knockout. Now what that does is it takes the original graphic and removes it, but leaves the glow behind. So when I click that, we kind of see an empty home there. Now that seems like it's going to be a pretty cool button. Since I have a fairly normal shape, I don't need a hit state, but we can always come back and add one if we need one. Now let's try out our button and see how it's working. We can just do a test movie right here. Remember, that's Control-Enter or Command-Return on the Mac. We'll wait for our animation to come in, and then I can roll over my home button, and you see we get that nice glow. I'll press down, and we get the knockout. We'll go ahead and close our test movie here. And let's see if we can set up the rest of the buttons next. Now, just to make things a little bit faster, while we're still here editing the home button, let me switch over to the overstate. That's where we set the glow. I'm going to click on our home button, and I just want to access these glow settings here at the bottom. Now, I'm going to collapse these just so it's a little bit easier to see the filters, and I'm just going to select the glow. That's the one I'm interested in. One of the neat things we can do with filters is I can go down to this clipboard icon, and I'll click it and copy selected. That's going to copy all the settings of the glow. Now I've got 3 more to set up, but I won't have to even remember what the settings were. I can just paste them right on. Now let's go back to scene 1, and let's set up our other buttons. And I'll just scroll up in my timeline so I can see the rest of the buttons that we're working on here. There we go. Probably back up a little bit so I can see the beginning. And again, I just want to make sure that when we create the rest of the buttons that we're doing so in the static section. And that's where we are right now at frame 65. So I'm going to click on Portfolio. We've got the static one. I'll press F8. We'll call that one Portfolio button. I'm going to leave it as button and the registration. We'll click OK. And I'm going to go ahead and set the other buttons up as well. Assembly line fashion. I'll select Exhibitions, press F8, and we'll call that Exhibitions button. I'll click OK, leaving all the settings the same. And we'll do the same thing for Contact. F8, and we'll call that Contact button. Leaving all the settings the same. Hit OK, and now we have 4 buttons. Now I need to set the states up on these other buttons, so I'm going to double click on Portfolio and just work my way down. We'll create an overstate. I'll press F6. I'll click on the Portfolio movie clip, and I can go down here to my clipboard, and I'll just choose Paste. And you can see it added that glow, and there it is on the screen. Now we can quickly do the downstate. That was just one click. We just need to add a keyframe for that first. F6, and I'll click on my button once more, and I'll just click on the knockout option. We'll click on Scene 1, and we've just got 2 more buttons left. A double click on Exhibitions will open it up. We'll click on the overframe, press F6 for a keyframe. I'll click on Exhibitions to make sure we have the properties in the property window, and we'll go down to our clipboard and choose Paste once again. You can see how handy that is. Now let's just add a keyframe for the down state. I'll press down and press F6. Once again, I'll click on Exhibitions to bring those properties up and click on Knockout. And we just got 1 more left. So I'm going to go back to Scene 1 and we'll do the same thing for Contact. We'll click on the overstate and press F6. I'll click on the Contact button and we'll paste that filter on in. I'll add a keyframe for the downstate, and on that keyframe, we'll select Contact, and we'll click on the Knockout button. And now I should have 4 buttons working all the same way. Let's go back to Scene 1.